Hello, today is episode 7.5. Hopefully, this is the last of the 8-7 episodes, but you never know. Let's see how far I get. Uh, so, so at 8-7, I think the one thing I realized more and more, all of the different things and different experiences that primarily my dad was responsible for. I started appreciating and seeing how much of a leader he was, and also started learning the value of what a true leader was. Right? It was not about being authoritative. It was not about being having power to do something or bossing people around, although he did all that also. But more than anything, what I started observing him is it was basically using his enthusiasm, his charisma, and his magnetic personality to pull people together and organize events where you looked outside of yourself. You made people laugh, you made people have fun, and you made it happen. In short, you made a large group of people outside of yourself happy, and your happiness came from, and your sense of power or your sense of control came from that, not from a title or anything of that nature. So I remember when I was 7 years old, he I already told you we had this fun trip to Nehru Zoological Park with the family, and he would always organize these picnics. Right, like there was, and in the picnics, right from the time of when would we go, who would drive, do we need to rent a car or a vehicle, and who would drive, who all would be attending, who would be making what. uh, Pretty much he would decide most of the stuff, and he'd be very communicative in communicating that. So all of our family, we went to a picnic in Gandipet, Usman Sagar, which is still a pretty famous picnic spot, I think. So it was a lot of fun. And after that same year, he organized a company picnic for his office team members and their families. So realize that we are talking, 40 years ago. And it was literally unheard of to organize something outside of work for your team members. It's only in the last 10-15 years that in India you have this concept of, hey, let's do some team building, let's have a holiday party or a team picnic or team activity. This was not done in workplaces. College groups used to go for picnics. Even that was little rare, but certain those things used to be limited to the young. I think when I was growing up, the working circumstances and the struggle of the middle class, and I'm talking the typical kind of people who worked for people like my dad, the struggle was so real and so recurring every day. It was an everyday thing, that I think even very young people, and I'm talking about 28, 32, 35, 33, more so the men. So this is all basically my parents' generation, right? Uh, they used to work very hard, and uh, it was quite a struggle to, yes, they could make ends meet. I'm talking about the middle class, but I don't think they had much fun in their life. It was something they had to do to bring bread home. There were rents to be paid. Most of the middle class they didn't own a car, much less they didn't even own a scooter. Like, most of them commuted to work in buses. And I'm talking about, my parents' generation, the people who worked for my dad. And it was a very hard life. They also had to take care of their parents. It was kind of literally unheard of, to put your parents in an old age home or whatever, and the parents didn't expect it to be taken care of. Um, and their wives had to deal with very demanding in-laws who were older and expected certain things to be done. So my parents and their generation had a very tough time, and they also wanted a better life for their children. So it was all, sacrifice, sacrifice, sacrifice. But my dad was very different. He he was he was and remained, young at heart until the day he passed away. So he made his team work extremely, extremely hard. Like, he pushed them. It was very long, hard working hours, okay? But he made work fun. He made fun work relaxing, because all these people had these mundane lives with, like, and even though they were only 28, 30, 33, my dad's team, they were mentally very tired, full of responsibilities and burdens, and bills to pay, and children who were bringing homework home, and a lot of frustration in their lives. And he made the workplace so relaxing, such a fun place. People loved being on his team. They loved working for him. They had fun while working. I mean, I've been with my dad many, many times, and his team worked the hardest, but they also had the most fun. They literally loved working for him. And his energy was infectious. He had fun working too. My dad worked very, very hard all his life. But he always made work fun. There would all be a lot of laughter. There would be a lot of, jokes and good food, crazy games. So he actually came up with this idea of organizing a company picnic for not just the employees, but for their families and their children. He organized it at this place called Kidwai Gardens. I'd never heard of it as a child until then. And people said, and now there are so many beautiful parks in Hyderabad. Back then it was like, outside the city somewhere. And there was a lot of botanical trees there, and it was our own Hyderabad's botanical garden. And back then, they just established Indira Park. Public gardens was always there. The zoological park was always there, but the other parks were just being established, Sanjeevaya Park and other parks. So this Kidwai Gardens was something very, like, it was a botanical garden. I heard the botanical garden name for the first time. What's a botanical garden? So everybody got something to eat. They cooked food, and he was in charge. He was in the kitchen. Like, it was something very different. The wives could get a break. You know, um, uh, these um, these men who were working under him didn't know how to cook. They had never been in the kitchen. Okay. So when their wives came for the picnic, they must have thought, oh my gosh, now it's not, as if it's not enough that we cook for 8 people every day. Now we have to cook for 20 people. that we don't know. But the wives had a blast. The kids had a blast. The wives all took a break, and he made the men cook in the kitchen. And we're talking 40 years ago and they had fun doing it. So they all cooked delicious, like, veg biryani, veg pulao, and nice potato sabzi, and they fried puris, and it was there was a little structure like an outhouse arch kind of thing in that Kidwai Gardens. That's where I remember them cooking all these like big. They made the flames with the wooden fire, and they cooked everything, and the food was served hot. The kids had a blast, and then he organized. And now everybody knows what Hausi and Tambola is. But back then, again, like I said, people started mentally aging very soon. They were all full of responsibilities, and there was the relaxation and leisure was only for the very wealthy. Um, I think the middle class didn't even think that they had the right to have to take a break or go on a picnic and have a blast and be kids. Then he organized a cricket match, and in which the ladies also took part. My dad was very progressive. The ladies had such a blast. The men had such a blast. And think about it, back in the day, the dads worked very hard. They used to be in the office and come home to a bunch of bills and responsibilities, and children who they had to take supervision of the thing, and the ladies were mostly in the kitchen, catering to the in-laws, catering to the children, packing lunch boxes. It was a very mundane life and hard life, and so they were mentally very aged. So these people are all kids, and it was so much fun. And these days, 28, 33, even 45 is nothing. This is young, but it was not like that for my parents' generation. So my dad organized a tambola game, and because of his army upbringing, and nowadays every day everybody knows that, but back then only he knew, you know two and two fat ducks, like 22, or the number 8, or unlucky number 13, things like that. He would call those out, and people had a blast in the tambola game. And he was actually the tambola expert all through, whichever company he went, he organized the tambola game. So I have a lot of fondness for that game. I remember my dad every time I play that game. So he organized the tambola game, and we had a blast. We came home. So that was a very special memory. And my dad used to work in a private company. You would think that somebody like that, when you see these movies, even recent movies like Animal or whatever, the dad like doesn't have any time, and because they're so focused on the career. And my dad was super focused on the career. He was the most valuable player, like, every year. And most women learn how to have a work-life balance from their mothers, or understand that from their mothers. I'm so proud to say, and even till today, I haven't seen many men doing this. Work-life balance is equally important for men too. It's not just the women who should be doing work-life balance. Somehow society still thinks that work-life balance is only a woman's thing, because women were traditionally always at home, and now they're stepping into work. You need to maintain that balance, and absolutely we need to, and the companies need to be considerate of that. But from a societal development perspective, you kind of take it for granted that men spending time at office, and of course they have to do, of course, what else can they do? But it's not true, because seen my dad having a very, very busy, very, very thriving, very, very successful career during my those formative years, yet balancing work, life, and community. Community was a very important part of my dad's life, contributing to the community, bringing people together. It was not just, work, work, work. And it was not just, oh, this is my work, my family, my wife, my children. He was genuinely a good, wherever he went, even till his last days. He would become the leader of the community, and it was not about power, it was not about control, it was just about bringing the community together and teaching them how to just live and enjoy life. It's so important for us to connect and enjoy ourselves. So I know I'm sounding kind of abstract, but like my kids would know, what I mean, because they have had some exposure to my dad and to me too. So he would really bring that. That picnic was a blast, and then really he did an amazing job balancing all three. And that's where I learned the work-life balance from my father, like how to do work-life balance as a woman. So I'd like to say it's not a gender thing; it's like a humanity thing, So, and then during this time, what also happened was we had so back then, and crazy, we lived in a suburb. It was a suburb back then called Mehdipatnam, and it was actually towards the outskirts of the city. It was not the middle of the city like it is now. And it was a very residential area, and there were just empty plots all around us. There were pockets of houses and plots and houses and plots. So back then there was a series of robberies by not thieves. These were dacoits. Like, they didn't have guns, but they didn't murder anybody, they didn't kill anybody, but they would rob people at knife point. And many times they would rob people while they were sleeping. They would not even rob them at knife point. Like, people were sleeping, and then in the radio, they issued warnings everywhere that please be careful, please, keep up at night, because these robbers were not like violent, but they just took advantage of the fact that you slept at night and that you were in the outskirts, and it would take a while for the police to get there. Nobody had any telephones, as hard as it to believe. In my entire neighborhood, only 2 homes had the telephone, and ours was one of them. So this was like a very thrilling time for me. It was a very scary time for a 7-year-old. That trauma still haunts me, of fearing robbers coming. Even now, I'm so old. When we go to a desolate place, I first see what's my escape route in case somebody comes in here and tries to murder me or something. Um, so so back then, my dad, bless his soul, there were no communities of homeowners association. They were all like random homes. He called a meeting uh, of all the men folk, and the women, and the children. Okay, so and so inclusive, so progressive. I mean, this is a true leader. It was not just like a bunch of men getting together and deciding what everybody should do. So he published printed out. He used to have a typewriter. There was no Xerox copy machine concept back then. there used to be like 2 Xerox shops in town, and this was when I was tiny, somewhere like 15 kilometers away or 10 kilometers away in Abbots. That's where you had to go if you had to get something copied. But he had a typewriter. He typed a manifesto for all the children of my age. And he taught us how to be whistleblowers. He pooled money together, and they purchased these tiny, tiny whistles. And everybody had a whistleblower. And the task of the children was that if they saw anybody lurking anywhere, they were to blow the whistle. And if somebody approached them or tried to kidnap them, or they were to blow the whistle. So all of us had this cream color whistle, and he made us practice on how to blow it. And they were taught when not to blow it. And also we were taught that if a robbery happens, we all were tasked, we meaning my age group kids, I'm talking like 5-year-olds to 5-year-olds to 11-year-olds, like, okay. And they said, he said that you all should think of escape routes, where you can go and hide if something is happening to your family. Don't freeze, run away. If somebody is robbing your family or hitting your family, or and there are dacoits had knives, and a couple of places people got murdered also, but that was not the intention of the dacoits. But if somebody saw them, they would do that. Run away, think of where you'll hide, and do not come out until you see the police. And we were trained in this self-defense. All the kids were trained. We felt very important that we had a role to play, and we all kind of had our own little group where we discussed where we would hide, and would we hide as a group, or how we would collaborate with each other if our parents were in trouble. And then he formed a group of young men in the community. So initially the young men's group was, 17 to 25 years old people, right? But my brother and my neighbor, there was a neighbor's friend, like Prasad and Kumar, they were brothers. Prasad was my brother's age. He was a very good friend of my brother. And Kumar was my best friend. He was 1 year younger than me. And I think Prasad was same age as my brother, or 1 year younger than him, or something like that, but literally the same age. So Prasad and my brother are like, no, we want to be, like, they didn't want to be part of this bacha party, this kid party with the whistles. They wanted to be part of the young men's group. So my dad ordered all these bamboo sticks from a local woodcutter. They were special delivered. And all the young men were given bamboo sticks. And there was no concept of chowkidar or night watchman, nothing. And we were in the outskirts. So he made a schedule on his typewriter, and know that there were no copy machines, so he had to type all these. So he gave them all a schedule of, okay, from 2 to 4 you will work, from 3 to 5, like this day it will be this group. And there were 2 young men in twos, so they were supposed to patrol the streets with bamboo sticks in case dacoit sees them, they can hit them or approaches them. But they also had whistles. And then every house was provided with 2 bamboo sticks. I know it was an exciting time and something bizarre. It's unbelievable that this happened in my lifetime, And the police were informed that this is what we were doing. And he alerted the police and there was no 100 number there that was very active. 100 is the 911 equivalent in India. That used to not get picked up. He got the local police number, and he said, okay, it'll come from our phone number. And he gave all the mothers also a duty. He assigned them a schedule of who would be responsible for preparing tea, hot tea, and delivering to all the people who were on night duty then. And the fathers also, basically were responsible for overseeing that all this happened on time, that their sons went on night duty, that the kids were constantly educated, and, We had a trial run of, we had to pretend that they're robbers and we all had to go to our hiding places and hide. He organized this. Of course, we never got robbed, but I got to see what an amazing leader my father was, and uh, what is the meaning of a true leader. Again, it's not power, it's not authority. There's all that is important, but working hard, being so hands-on, and truly caring for the community, making sure you're inclusive, you're including everybody. He was an exceptional man. He was an exceptional leader, and I really learned so much from him in this aspect. So around this time, like I said, he was also a great friend. My dad had a friend in when he was studying, going to college, doing his MA in Delhi School of Economic. Either I think this was BA actually, but either way, he was his college friend. I don't remember his name, but he was a very handsome uncle. We didn't think he was a young man, but I guess he was a young man. They were in their late 30s at that time, and he had become a wing commander and in the Indian Air Force, and he was posted to a city in Karnataka, which was once upon a time part of Hyderabad state, but now it was part of Karnataka, called Bidar. Okay, and he said, "Oh, my friend is like posted there, and they have two young children of, your age and your brother's age, and let's go make a road trip to Bidar." And again, road trips were so rare. Only now they're picking up with all the good highways and all that, but it was unheard of to go on a road trip somewhere. People traveled in buses or trains. So we had our car. We filled the gas. We packed like a nice picnic lunch, and we used to do these road trips. Once we all family we went on a road trip to Yadgiri Gutta, and we picnicked on the way. Amazing experiences that kids of my generation didn't have. Only kids of this generation have those experiences, but I was so privileged that because of my dad I had all this. So we went to be there, and then I saw something that fascinated me, and for the rest of my life, that was the only thing I ever wanted in my life. Is uncle had that wing commander, I don't remember his name. He had two kids. One son was a little older than me. He was about 4 years older than me, 4 or 5 years older than, actually he was more my brother's age actually. Yeah, he might have been 7 years older than me. And then the daughter was my age. The son was about 4 or 5 years older than me, and daughter was my age. Okay. Interesting thing was, normally I would be completely, my brother was very vocal, very extroverted. So anytime we go to a new home, those people didn't even remember that I existed anywhere. Anywhere we visited for the very first time, not relatives, of course they knew existed, but I think I made I was so quiet and in a corner and made so little impact that maybe they remembered, but they didn't remember anything else about me because I would go there and sit in a corner. Okay. My brother was a talker. He was very engaged, and they would ask him, very bright also, bright kid. So they would always remember, "Oh, I remember your son came and he's so intelligent and he talked about this and he talked about that." And maybe half the people didn't remember that I was there. And even if I was there, half the people didn't remember anything that I said or did because I was absolutely quiet. But this one I remember was something else. So we stopped at Bidar. My brother and my mom and dad got down, and I was the last person to get down. My dad opened the door of our car, and I don't know what happened to me. I got curious that to put my finger in that car where the car door closes. I wanted to see, like, what the mechanism was there. So I kind of put my hand there. And my dad just got down and he slammed the door on my hand. I screamed. That was one of the most painful, physically painful experiences of my life. My four fingers got slammed shut into a car door. My three fingers, these three. The fourth was okay, I think. I was in so much pain. That was the most physical pain I've been in in my life, uh, in that portion of my life. Then there were two more instances where I was in extreme physical pain. I'll come to that later. But that up until then, I cried so hard. I cried so hard, and then immediately they took me in. And they put ice on me, this, that, and everybody was around me. And voila, because of a very strange reason, everybody remembers that incident, and like six members of the family and their servants and their drivers and their cooks, everybody was around me. Like, I think for the next 4 hours they only talked to me. They tried to make me stop talking. They tried to make me feel better. So I got unbelievable amount of attention that I ever did in my life because of this reason. But more impactful than that, I haven't come down to what got stuck in my mind as an object of desire. This younger daughter, I think her name was Pinky, she had her own room, because in Army, Air Force, everybody has their own room. There's a lot of privacy, and they have these beautiful quarters that the Army or Air Force provides. And it's a very Air Force, Army, Navy thing where the kids get their own rooms. I got so fascinated by that, so fascinated by that. It was the only thing I ever wanted from that point onwards. Up until now, I still don't have my own room. But so that's that. I think I went over. I think we might need a 7.6. This is like a never ending episode, but again, I belabored this point. I think it would be obvious to you what the lesson would be. I think what I learned from my dad is what true leadership was. Okay, it's not about title. It's not about power. It's not about position. Really, he didn't have any position in that community. That did not stop him from stepping up. It's really about extending yourself beyond yourself, thinking beyond yourself. That's the lowest level of non-leadership, me. But a little bit of extension is me and my spouse, me and my wife. That's better. A little bit more extension is me and my parents, my children, my family. And a little bit more than me, my friends, again, me, my community. But beyond all this was my dad. He said, where is the gap? Who requires a leader? What's the task that requires leadership? I'll step in and do it. I don't need a title. I don't need power. I don't need money. I don't even need a thank you. But I feel there's a need, and it's an extension beyond yourself. So I'll never forget this lesson that my father taught me, and he remains very special to me for this reason. So I'll continue tomorrow. Bye.